Jones adding there's no scenario in which the Cowboys would move on from Prescott in 2020. Quote, I mean, Dak's our quarterback. He's our quarterback for the future, and we have nothing but the greatest respect for him. He is a competitor. He won a lot of football games for us. Obviously, he, like us, we all want to take that next step and get into a championship game and get to the big game and ultimately win a championship. So there's no thoughts like that. And look who's here now. Two-time Super Bowl champ, Torrey Smith. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
I'm going to start with you here, Max. Do you have a problem with Stephen Jones' comments on Dak? Because I thought they were going to franchise tag him, but now it seems to be a different story.
No, I sure do. And let me start by saying I actually have a lot of respect for Stephen Jones because this has been shown over time. Nepotism, like when a family member gets favored, especially in business, if it's just inherited by a family member, there's not an insignificant decrease in the success of the business because the kid, didn't have to work to get there the same way someone else might have. Stephen Jones, especially with that in mind, has done an excellent job in his capacity with the Cowboys. When they started moving away from Jerry Jones impulse picks like Johnny Manziel and started drafting offensive linemen, instead you could see Stephen Jones' influence. So my hat's off to him in many respects. But that doesn't mean he's perfect. And here I got a real beef. What the hell are they doing? What is Stephen Jones talking about? Look, I wouldn't give Dak the money everyone else would, apparently. I wouldn't have given it to Carson Wentz or Jared Goff either. Because when teams pay not quite elite quarterbacks as though they are elite, as though they're Mahomes or Rodgers in his prime, they don't win Super Bowls. And really, in a hard cap league, that means you're not paying someone else. Oh, he's got to set the market. You ain't setting the market. You're setting the market for quarterbacks. You're really just taking money away from another position. So I get why they'd want to keep the salary down, maybe even franchise him. I understand that. I think that makes sense. But this is what they were doing with Ezekiel Elliott, who had less leverage than Dak. And they wound up making him the highest paid guy, highest guaranteed, highest average annual, the whole thing. So if in the end you're going to cave anyway and give him what he wanted, what was all this about? Just making a bad feeling in the franchise? And if you do give him the money, you also look soft. Like you posture, then cave to the player eventually. And if that's the case, what did you put everyone through this for? And in the end, if you're going to franchise him, then what does all this mean really? Because it does not seem like Dak is going to take a discount according to the market. It seems like since he's at least Jared Goff, he's going to want at least Jared Goff money, right? How the Rams liking that contract right now? How the Eagles liking the Wentz contract? Wentz needs more. I mean, but they paid too much for him. He hasn't been Donovan McNabb, has he? Dak Prescott may wind up being a great quarterback. I think he will, actually. I think eventually he'll get there. I don't think he's there today, and if you pay him like that, you're going to pay the price. And yet it looks like that's what they're going to do anyway, so what was this whole dog and pony show about?
What's the cost of doing business? You think about what happened with Joe Flacco when I was in Baltimore. We win the Super Bowl. The Ravens kind of lost the bet by not signing to an extension early like Dak has done. They missed that wave. He's going to have to be paid. And I'm not saying Dak is the best quarterback in the NFL. But what I'm saying is in this market, he's going to be paid like one of the top guys. And it's not his fault. I mean, they won this bet. They lost this bet. And Dak, it's time for him to be paid. He's done everything right. He's represented this organization the right way. He's a model citizen. Yes, can he improve? But he's also one of the top young guys. And franchise quarterbacks don't just grow on trees. And you have the opportunity to keep one. And I believe that you can win a Super Bowl with him. It's on them to decide that. They're saying these things, but their actions are showing differently.
Here's the reality of the situation. I don't have a problem with what Stephen Jones said because I think it's reality, and I think that you want to send a message to him that you do believe in him. And now ultimately you got to prove it by paying him. But I think that ultimately that's before you do that, rather, what you're trying to do is say, we believe in you. We're not trying to franchise tag you to keep you here for another year. You're upset. You're bitter. You're not happy with us. But then we've got you locked in for a year. You don't keep a quarterback prisoner. You could do that with other positions on the NFL field. Can't do that with a quarterback because there's so much that goes in to being an NFL quarterback that not just in terms of throwing the football, but running the offense and galvanizing the troops to some degree, that the minute that you turn Dak off to the point of no return, you've really jeopardized your franchise and you've given him a step back. And this is a guy that's completed 65% of his passes. He threw 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, threw for nearly 5,000 yards. He's not a scrub. He's not somebody that's not doing the job per se. There are other elements that come into the fray. He had the number 2 ranked passing attack, the number 1 offense in yards accumulated, number 6 overall in offense. What's the damn problem? Especially when within his own division, Carson Wentz has gotten paid, and within his own conference, Jared Goff has gotten paid. And again, Max, you keep bringing up how these other dudes have gotten paid, and where does that leave them? But you're missing the key point here. This is the National Football League. You have a right to cut salary. You have a right to restructure deals, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking about Dak Prescott because of his character, not just his game, but his character, representing that brand that is the Cowboys, being as dysfunctional as they can be. You can pay him, Max, and then come to him a year from now and go like this. We need you to restructure. We need you to work it out. But you give him that option.
I got it. Reasonable people can agree to disagree about whether you pay a quarterback. I think quarterbacks are overpaid. From Mahomes, give him a blank check. Everyone else, let's negotiate. But let me ask you this. It seems to me that you believe the Cowboys will cave and give him the big deal, correct?
I don't think it'll be $40 million a year, but I'm talking Carson Wentz money. Yes.
Right.
I agree.
If they would have offered him Carson Wentz money in the beginning, and you know they didn't because they never released the guarantee. They only ever talked about average annual. That's what leaked out. We never read what's Dak's guarantee. If Dak was guaranteed Carson Wentz money, you don't think they'd have gotten a deal done by now. So my point is this. If they eventually are going to cave anyway and give him the big deal, what was all this about? Why would they drag him through this process?
Because
why are the Cowboys in turmoil? Why?
Let me answer it. Here's why. Because you wanted for him to go out there and prove under duress he could still perform.